Before we do a video about abnormal foot shape and abnormal gait and the feet that roll in, I thought it would be worth doing a quick one on what normal looks like. And normal is a term that has to be used with care. Scientifically speaking, normal means average, or more specifically it means within one standard or two standard deviations of average. So if you draw a curve of everybody, it's the sort of the blob in the middle. They are considered normal. In colloquial terms, normal can be bastardized to mean ideal, which is not a helpful way to think about it because we don't know what's ideal. So I'm using normal here in the average sense. So I'll just shuffle over this way and stick something up there. This is, as it happens, me walking on a gait map, on a gait scan system. It's an easy way of seeing what happens when you walk. So what you'll notice is that the heel strike is slightly on the outside. It's sort of central to lateral. I load through the outside of the foot, and then when I reach sort of just past mid stance, I start to roll the foot inwards. I start to pronate, and then right at the end, the centre of gravity goes sort of more forward again. So what we have there is, with variations, a pretty average sort of gait pattern. The idea is heel strike on the outside, load on the outside, roll onto the inside, and then somewhat back towards the middle. We can also see that if we look at these things. These are kinematics graphs, so graphs of the movement of the subtalar joint during gait. And what you will always see is that there is an initial pronation after the heel strike, and then it sort of chills out down there for a little while, and then there is a supination at the end. The original biomechanics, the founders of biomechanics as it were, Reuter, Ryan and Weed, their main hypothesis was that the foot had to pass through subtalar neutral at the beginning and at the end of gait. That rolling in movement is a shock absorber. It allows you to adapt to terrain, but more importantly it allows you to absorb some of those forces, so that instead of it just being a solid thump down and it stays there, it comes down and then it sort of smoothly rolls out and through the other side. If we look at somebody who is a little abnormal, but in a good way, this is Hallie Gabrielesi. So again, I'll throw up another video there. This is him running from behind, and you'll see he's doing all of that, but more so. He is striking very much on the outside, and then there is an alarming degree of eversion, an alarming degree of pronation before he sort of straightens up as he comes out the other side. So what we're seeing here is somebody with an incredibly effective gait. He is the best distance runner probably who has ever lived, who is pronating a lot, which kind of makes sense, because if pronation, when it's working well, is a shock absorber and an adapter, you would expect an elite athlete to have a very, very good shock absorber and a very, very good adapter. Last little video here, this is Hallie Gabrielesi again, this time running barefoot. When one runs barefoot, it tends to change the patterns. You are more inclined to forefoot strike running barefoot. Some people forefoot strike anyway. It's a different way of running, it's not particularly better. But once again, you can see what happens. He lands on more or less the outside and then rolls inwards a great deal before, as he lifts his heel and the windlass kicks in, he resupinates back the other way. So an average gait, as far as we can judge these things, what we want to happen during gait is sort of lateral heel strike, which it has to be a lateral heel strike in order that it can then pronate. The pronation is the shock absorber, and that you will go pretty much as far as your anatomy will allow it to go. And then as you come back out the other side, you resupinate. So again, we can look at the graph, strike on the outside, pronate, resupinate. That's the pattern that we're looking for an average or normal foot. Really don't like that word normal.